Hello and welcome to day 2 of the LEATT LIVemaniacs. We are here at Cliffhanger, which is an extreme section of vertical walls. I'm Craig Stone, and sitting with me again is Billy Bolt. Billy, how do you think the guys went out yesterday? Quite a bit of a sufferfest.
Yeah, the sufferfest is probably the perfect way to put it. I think it was actually pretty smooth sailing when we saw them early on in the day, but I think it was a very, very tough afternoon by all accounts.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we had been speaking about it from already the prologue on it, that day 1 is going to be in your face and really extreme. So let's go and have a look at the flyover of what they're going to face in today's track. So from the start, they're going to have a pretty short section. It's going to take the riders around 9 minutes. So we should be seeing them coming into this section of the Cliffhanger in about 8 minutes' time. Manny is the leader on the road. He'll be the first one out, winning dominantly yesterday, taking the win about almost 30 minutes over Mario Roman. They're going to do 3 laps of this Cliffhanger section of the LEATT LIVemaniacs before they head out on to the main racetrack. On today's racetrack, they have a very long liaison section to get over the mountains before they get into the Lotro Valley, where they're going to have a really tough section to get to the marathon stage, where they'll have a camp out for the marathon stage. And at the marathon stage, they're going to have no assistance, no service crews allowed. They only rely on the tools that they have. So let's go and have a look at the track walk and show you a little bit of what the riders have in store for them here at Cliffhanger for LEATT LIVemaniacs. This is Cliffhanger. The gold competitors will have to do 3 laps of this brutal climb. Steep ascents, tight turns, and different line options to take. Who's going to risk it all? Who's going to take the A lines, the steep lines? Who's going to be conservative, save the energy? So here we are at the entrance to Cliffhanger, and right from the start, it's really steep, and you need to fire it up as high as you can go so that you're not doing too much pushing and wasting your energy. Just try and get up as high as possible. Then you can make yourself a little level, pull the bike around again and try and ride out the other side, but just nothing to hold you up. Stefan is now really approaching the Cliffhanger part of this section. You can see the bike just right on the ragged edge there, right on the edge. If you're looking to make a breakaway from the group in this section here, this is where to do it, because if you can get some good drive and speed up here and make it in one movement, that's it. Then you'll be gone. Nice big step up here. Nice one. On this Maniac section, there could be a bit of strategy to come into play again. With the riders having to do it 3 times, they'll definitely be looking at lines they took, comparing it to other lines they might have taken, maybe use the another line on the second lap and really get as much speed, just no grip at all. Now you're going to line it up, try and get as high as you can. He's got another very tight right hand turn. Mentally, you've just got to be so strong, because to do this 3 times is really going to take a lot. Back up. Most people who would come here would think a bike would never make it up these kind of hills in these conditions. But this is what we live for. So now that he's up, he can just get across this camber, turn it around, and go literally straight back down this Cliffhanger. There's not much rest at the bottom before they need to turn back and come and do it all over again. But now that they've got a chance to have a look at the line, see where they're going to go, I'm sure the pace will pick up again. And down we go. So the riders would have got a little bit of a chance to catch their breath again because the downhill wasn't too bad. And now they'll start their next maniac sections and go for their next laps. So that is Cliffhanger Maniacs. Who will risk it all? Who will be conservative? Who will come out on top?
I can tell you, after having a little look at that first hill just now, that riders would definitely be favouring them conditions that we've just saw in the VT there. It's looking a little bit damp on top today. A lot of exposed tree roots. I think, yeah, like I said, those conditions would have been preferred. It's going to be interesting today.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go and have a look at some of the highlights from day one and see how the riders got on in the gold class.
It was so tough, just with this little bit of rain, so they stopped their race one checkpoint earlier, which is quite nice actually. And right now still nobody's in the finish, which is pretty good, so I think we made a pretty decent gap, and yeah, let's see the next couple of days.
To see that the weather conditions did change so dramatically yesterday. It was pretty dry, loose, pretty sunny day for the most part in the morning, and then after the service point, the weather changed, and it was a very, very long afternoon.
Yeah, there were just so many sections, one after the other, for these riders. Not necessarily the weather that had the biggest effect on them. It was just that it was just so intense for them. A pretty long day. 140 kilometers of riding, and when you have so many tough sections, one after the next, it just beats you down. We saw Matty Green there just trying to shoot it up, and he actually burnt his clutch out yesterday, so he had a pretty long day with his clutch not working too well. I'm
hoping we actually managed to get a chance to talk to him after the Live Maniacs session, because I think the ingenuity that went on and the self-repair job that he was doing on the side of the track is definitely worth a mention, and we'll maybe get it from his perspective, hopefully, as we when he comes through this morning.
No, definitely. I wonder if he managed to find some cooking oil or something to put in there to get it to work. But we should see Manny coming in here. We're about 8:09. We expected them into the section at 8:09. So we should be seeing some live shots of him coming in here any moment. But Billy, how impressive was Graham Jarvis yesterday? He came through the field. He didn't have a very good starting position. I think he started around 26th place overall.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see him in the Live Maniacs section yesterday. We were waiting for him. We were checking the live timings and seeing he was really making good progress through the pack. Just didn't quite make it in before our cut-off. But there, as you can see from the results, his second half of the day just showed why he is one of the best to ever do our sport. And from a pretty far back, I think, really far back starting position, he's made it through into the top 5 or 6 now. So yeah, what solid performance from the veteran.
Yeah, he's actually sitting in 6th place overall. And what actually was so impressive about his ride yesterday is that because he was starting quite far back, there was a lot of riders that had already gone through the sections. And here in Romania, the topsoil is not very deep. And once that topsoil is gone, all the roots and the rocks are exposed. And it makes it so much more difficult for him.
Yeah, you see the first 2 checkpoints, he actually only made it, he only ranked in 32nd and then 23rd. And then from then onwards, he was, around between the 8th and the 14th mark. So just shows how much traffic he had to deal with in them first 2 sections. But when he got a clear track out in front of him, he made some solid time back up.
No, certainly, and his times were not that far off from the top 4 guys. So, you know, he certainly would have been fighting up there had he had a good starting position. But he is riding with a little bit of an injury, got some broken ribs, which is not so easy to ride with when you have to breathe in and take in so much oxygen on these big sections, especially in the high mountains where there is not much oxygen.
I think we can hear some bikes behind us, so we might be getting some live action very soon. Just want to give another shout out to Mitch Brightmore, who's leading the juniors and solidly in the top 10 of the overall rankings too. So it's just showing that the juniors, the up and coming guys, they are really starting to challenge with the top boys.
No, definitely, and it looks like we had Manny coming into the section there, so he's about to start the LEATT LIVemaniacs here. He's going to come into the checkpoint before going up onto this first ledge that we saw in the track walk. And with the overnight rain, the rocks are really slippy.
Yeah, I think Manny actually had definitely the best track conditions during the live section yesterday, and but today is a bit of a different story. Overnight rain, I think just the general dew that kind of comes in some of these mountains and some of these valleys where there is a lot of moisture is going to play a part. And I think definitely worse for his first lap. It might get a little bit better when we get some dry ground from underneath, but then we're seeing just how loose it really is and how much it cuts up for the later guys like yesterday. And I expect more of the same, if not worse, because we've got tree roots to play as well. Yesterday it was just the loose ground and rocks to play with. Now we've got loose ground, rocks and tree roots thrown into the equation.
All in there. So while Manny's getting checked in there at the checkpoint, let's go for a quick commercial break before we see him straight in the action. Apologies, the riders he's in the section now, I'm getting told. So he's through that little short checkpoint, and now this is the section we're talking about. The ground is a little bit damp from the rain last night, but it's not too soaked through, so it is dry underneath, but it's the rocks that are going to be the slippery part to contend with. Billy, talk us through how he's riding up here and what lines he's going to look for.
So there's actually multiple lines on this first section. I wasn't sure upon looking at what line he was actually going to take. You can really go wide and stay where the X-grip manor is, but then the traverse across kind of where he is now is a little bit more difficult. I think there is a chance he could stay super far to the right and almost do it in one. That might be on the cards for him next lap, but your first lap he's probably a little bit rusty. I would have said Manny in general is very good at remembering the sections from year to year, so he'll know what's coming, but just getting his bearings here on the first lap and taking his time. We'll have a little scout at the other lines that are on the cards, and I expect a little bit more intensity as he comes through it next lap. But not making any mistakes. That's the key thing on this first lap, really. You're better off spend a few extra seconds and just make sure you get through cleanly. You're not damaging the bike. He's not wasting energy. He knows how strong he is, particularly in them LIVemaniacs sections. So really get the groundwork, get a good base in this first lap, and probably push on a bit in the next two.
And the riders this morning from their starting positions, these top 3 guys, they had 3-minute intervals between each of them. So, yesterday we saw at the K2 on the day 1 LEATT LIVemaniacs, where Manny almost cleared the section all 3 laps before the other riders came in, and he'll definitely be trying to do the same thing today because the entrance here is a little bit one-lined. So if he can get out of here before traffic comes in, that'll definitely play into his hands.
I think just knowing how soon we are after the start and how much time he's actually took on the first bit there's a good chance that they're going to be in this section with someone else today. He's not quite going to have that luxury he had yesterday of completing all 3 laps by himself. But you never know.
And if you haven't had a look on our website at the results, I'll just give you a rundown of our top 6 so we know who to expect here. First was Manny. Second with a great ride yesterday was Mario Ramon. Third, Wade Young. Fourth, Michael Volkner. Fifth, Teo Kubachev. And number 6 in 6th position was Graham Jarvis.
You see the goggles getting spun there by Manny, which is a bit of a rare occurrence actually for him these days. He's got it so down and he's kind of so conditioned that he only tends to have to spin the goggles if he's struggling. So it just shows that he's expecting a bit of a fight here in the next 2 laps, I guess.
And it's pretty humid because the sun's coming out. It is a bit warm, and after yesterday's rain, there's a lot of moisture in the air.
So Mario has now arrived. It's pretty even, I would say. A 3-minute gap's still probably about where we're at, but Manny not quite having it as much of his own way as he did yesterday.
Mario absolutely loves the extreme stuff. Mario says the harder the better, and yesterday at the service point he was smiling from ear to ear and he said to Martin, "Thank you, this is great. The harder the better." He loves to suffer, but by the time he got into the finish line he said maybe that was a little bit too much. So
and you see Mario actually is the fastest time so far for the first checkpoint, but only by a difference of 8 seconds from Manny. So still pretty tight, I guess. That would suggest there's not too many difficult things between the start line and when the guys arrive here to the LEATT LIVemaniacs section.
Yeah, they've had a pretty open section, and Billy, just over the progression of the race over the years, I mean, before we used to see that over these tougher sections, you know, people would try and push it and make that gap and then sort of take a bit of a breather between sections. But nowadays, the pace is just so high. Everybody's just sort of motocrossing their way through the sections.
Exactly. I can assure you that there's no breathers being took from these guys. You know, we're literally rounding the crest of these hills and the wheels spinning, and we're in almost special test mode from that point until we arrive to the next gold section. It is I don't want to say sprint, because obviously the nature of this race doesn't really allow sprinting, but there's absolutely zero rest for these guys from start to finish. Even the service point, 20 minutes, that's not a lot of time for the guy. The mechanics will quickly turn a tire and you're trying to take on board as much food as possible. But even that can be hard work at times. Your heart rate's been so high for such a long period of time, and to try and rest and get in as much food on board can be difficult. But yeah, like you say, I mean, I guess you can tell just from the kind of riders and the people that have come into the sport, and 10 years ago, a high-level trials rider could almost jump on an enduro bike and be guaranteed to be a podium finisher at one of these races. But I think the sport's become so specialized, and it's all kind of heading to such fine margins, and people are training, just in hard enduro so hard, and it just shows, yes, the trial skills gives you a good base, but in my opinion, it's almost progressed past that point now, where it is really like a different way of riding a motorbike. And you put any of these top 10 guys on a motocross track and they're still going to go pretty quick. So that just gives you an indication of how fast we're going on the in-between gold sections, let's say.
And just for, from my perspective, and not necessarily because Wade is South African, but when Wade came to Romaniacs for the first time, he didn't have the skills, the trial skills that like Graham had when Graham was dominating so much. But through the sections in between, he was just so fast that he would catch back up to them. Graham would sort of pull the lead again. Graham and Johnny would pull a gap on him on the harder sections. But then on the in-between, Wade would close that gap again, just because he was so fit and strong and just muscled his way up the tough sections.
So it looks like Manny entered his second lap and he's made it in one on that inside line. So Manny really... Oh no, apologies, that was Wade we heard, but a little bit of an overtake going on. And just going back to that point you made about Wade and the differences in time that get made up, that was the case back in the day, but you look at the results now and there's actually such a small amount of time that's able to be made up on the fast sections, because they are so, the times are so tight and everybody is pushing the pace so high. It really is about surviving and not losing time on the fast sections, and then all the time made up is on these gold hills, because Manny's shown here just that extra 2-3 meters can be the difference of having to do an extra 2 or 3 switchbacks, which 3 meters further up a hill can equate into a couple of minutes at the end of it.
And I wonder if Wade just being a little bit clever there, letting Manny come past, because he knows Manny's been through this section once already, and Manny's going to know where the traction is and where the good lines are, and Wade's going to just try and follow his wheel here to know where the good grip is.
That would have been a good move, but it does look like Manny might slip out of sight, and that's one thing about these sections, really. You can be just 20 seconds behind someone, but just given how steep the hills are and how much you kind of have to traverse these ridges, you can be 20 seconds behind someone for several hours and not see them at all. So yeah, it's a lot of swings and roundabouts go on in this game. I would say it's a day of a lot of fine margins.
Yeah, for sure. And here, Marco Walkner, he's in this as well now. So these riders all close together.
Solid ride for Michael yesterday. He's well within the podium hunt for the overall. Manny definitely taking him longer per lap than yesterday. So I think we're going to see a little bit more Dyson in this live section. And yeah, look, it's 6 minutes 38 for Manny to do his first lap.
And just an indication of sort of how extreme and how long it takes to get over some of these small sections, because you've got 2 or 3 riders all in the same shot, but they started, you know, sort of 3 minutes apart. So,
and Mario has been in the section for about 8 minutes, seven and a half, 8 minutes now, and he's still not onto the downhill. So Manny just showing he really knows how to push the pace and keep the intensity up on these Live Maniac sections. This is a tough one, that's for sure. I think that little bit of moisture on the top of the section is really making riders be extra cautious. They've also got to think about where they're dabbing and where they're putting their feet, because these hills are so steep. You know, one wrong move, obviously with tire placement, but also with foot placement, can have, you know, catastrophic implications.
And we haven't been here for quite a while, so you'll probably find that on the rocks, there's just a little bit of moss, a little bit of green moss, which makes it really slippery, and it's going to take a few riders to get over to break that down, so the others might have a little bit of a easier time, especially now as we see the sun starting to come out and dry things out.
I wonder if Manny's still using his last year's suspension settings, or he did more changes yesterday afternoon.
That's interesting.
You have to give credit to the thoughts to use the live interview for a quick shout out to the team and to get the message back across for them guys to have it ready. It was pretty quick thinking by him there.
Yeah, really smart, just to get the word out to a service crew so that everything is ready and prepared for him. So they have a quick change and then he's back out again.
Whatever setting he's got in, it looks like it's working pretty well for him. He's really managing to stay on his bike a lot more on this second lap. So he used the first lap to just know the lines and get a feeling for the ground and just the levels of traction, and I haven't seen him get off and push it once on this second lap. So Manny showing why he is the defending champion.
And he just seems to ride so smart, you know, he just keeps the revs low so that the back wheel doesn't break traction, and he's always looking ahead, like where he needs to go to, and he's planning sort of two, three moves ahead of where he's going to go, to make sure that he doesn't get jammed anywhere.
We had Michael Walkner, Wade Young and Ter Carpathian all in shot, looking pretty close to each other back there. So they're all on the first lap, so we've definitely got a bit more of a battle going on here in today's section, rather than as opposed to yesterday where it was pretty spread out.
Manny's going to make his way across that camber now and come down the hill, down to the checkpoint before he starts his last lap.
I wouldn't be surprised if Manny caught up to the back of Mario here in his last lap. And that will really be a confidence booster this early in the day for Manny. Such a difficult section to know he's put the time in, and he's extending that lead that he's got.
So the next rider in the section, we should see Graham Jarvis coming in pretty soon, and then Mitch Brightmore and Johnny Walker.
I think that was Graham just heading in there.
Yeah, in the white kit this year.
I think Graham's not going to be pushing too hard. He's using that experience he's got. He's going to take it easy first lap, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see him pick off a few of the guys by the time we get to the end of 3 laps. And off Manny's first lap was 7 minutes. I think we can safely say everyone's going to be up towards and past the half-hour mark for this Live Maniac section today. So quite a big difference to yesterday, where it was under 10 minutes for
really
most of
quick.
the top 10.
Yeah, really quick.
And just physically, that's going to take a lot more out of them as well. They're going to have exerted a lot of energy. I think we're going to have a good few energy gels and some water, some fluids being taken on board when the guys are in the 5 minutes time decontrol at the end of it.
And from here, they're going to have a long liaison section to get over the mountains and into the Lotro Valley.
That's always nice too, when you've sweated pretty hard for 30 minutes and then you go and sit on a forest road and just get your body temperature just comes crashing down and you're struggling to move by the end of it.
Hands are sore because everything sort of relaxes.
Everything freezes up because you're wet, dripping wet with sweat, and then it's still isn't as warm as it has been here. Hopefully the sun comes out and it makes it a bit easier for the guys. And Theo now passing Michael Walkner, and Mario looks like he's caught up to the back of them. So this little bottleneck might hold Mario up a bit, and we might see Manny catch up to the back of him. As we've seen Manny there just before, stayed on the bike, rode all of that first bit. He's really seems like he's got the bike working good and finding a lot of traction on these slippy rocks. Just to give you some context, that exact section is what Manny has just rode straight across. Not feet up, but not looking like it was causing too much difficulty.
Yeah, and we see sometimes the riders sort of dangling both their legs off the back of the bike. Does that just help get the traction down onto the back wheel?
Exactly, it's just about balance and weight more than anything. And these hills are so steep, you almost need the top half of your body to be as far forward as possible to keep the front wheel from lifting, but then that obviously takes weight off the rear tire, which is what is going to ultimately give you traction too. So weight on the rear tire and also just keeping balance too. It's not like we're just going up a smooth hill climbing. There's rocks and tree roots to play with. There's cambers, there's changes of terrain. So it helps keep with balance. Graham was kind of one of the pioneers of that technique.
So it doesn't necessarily look the best, but it definitely works great.
It definitely works. That's one of the techniques which I'm actually going to say out there doesn't help to have long legs, because you start to get some real tight hip flexors having to keep your feet off the ground. So Paul Bolton has said for years that short legs are such a big disadvantage, but I'm actually claiming that there's certain situations where the little legs do help. I've been trying to cling onto the back of Manny's back wheel, just watching his feet, his heels skim the ground as we go, and my knees are almost dragging on the ground. So there's like I said before, there's swings and roundabouts, and there's it's a day full of fine margins, but it's cool to see everyone's kind of developing their own technique now. I see a lot of guys are off pushing the bike and they've got their foot or their knee on the seat, just trying to get that extra little bit of traction. And that's what I was saying before. The sport's become so specialized that it's developing past the traditional trials techniques into just a case of doing whatever you can to get this bike to the top of the hill.
So looks like Manny's going to be almost in the finish there. Billy, why don't you head across and get an interview there with Manny?
I'll go and get some feedback and see how the Live Maniac section of today's gone.
So Graham, he's just lining it up now to get over this next section, and there's a little bit of a rut forming there, which is going to help him. And as I said earlier, the ground's not completely soaked through from that overnight rain. So he should have some good drive and traction in that rut as it starts developing. Manny having a little bit of a look back behind him just to see who's coming behind him. But just absolutely nobody on the pace of Manny at the moment. He's just dominating in every respect. And Graham also just so smart, he knows how to play the long game, takes his time in the section, doesn't push himself into the red zone, doesn't want to burn himself for the rest of the day. He knows that this is day 2, still another 2 days to go after this, and he needs to just keep those energy levels and not burn it all out on the first day. Or in this first section, I should say. This is the downhill, the last downhill down to the checkpoint, and then Manny will be done and have a little breather, a little 5-minute breather in the 5-minute hot box before he's back out onto the course and across that liaison. So there you go, Manny done now. He's cleared his 3 laps. He's going to be pretty happy about that. And his lap times are so consistent. You know, he's doing more or less 6 minutes and 30 seconds for each of those 3 laps. It's just so consistency about him, and that's just why he's so good. Mario, not so far behind though. He had a really good second lap there, Mario. He was only 10 seconds behind Manny. But let's go down to Billy. He's with Manny. Let's see what Manny has to say about this early little rise in the heart rate.
Manny, today's looking a bit more difficult than yesterday, eh?
Definitely, it was way more pushing up the hill. It's super loose uphill and quite techy, so I was quite happy that I was like in there first, so I could already pull a little bit of a gap, I think.
Yeah, I think going off the checkpoint times I've seen before I left the book, you pushed the pace pretty hard there, but conditions a little bit damp and quite a lot of guys in there at once, so I think being out the front's definitely helped. What's a long day to go now, 180 kilometers estimated riding time, which I'm sure is not what you want to hear after yesterday. How's the body feeling?
Body's super tired, definitely, but I think we're gonna have a good day, and it's actually was quite nice to get like warmed up now this section, because at the beginning I was like, oh man, just this single trail riding is already super tiring, but I think now we're definitely heated up and I think warm to go, and yeah, I think a long day ahead, but we tried it, nobody's catching me, same thing as yesterday, and then we should be good to go.
There you go, guys. He's still out in front looking good, but it's actually nice to see him sweating this much. It's a while since I've seen him sweat this much, so that just shows it's pretty tough out there. Back to you, Craig.
So Manny's looking in really high spirits, and yesterday I saw an interview with him where he said yesterday was probably the hardest day he's ever had on a motorcycle, which says something, you know, especially after the 2023 event, the 20th anniversary event, where on that day one we had those extreme weather conditions. Paul Bolton, our field reporter, brought us some epic images of that thunderstorm that they had towards the end of day one, where everything was pretty much unrideable. And for Manny to say that yesterday was one of his hardest days he's ever had just goes to show what these guys have to go through. And great to see the camaraderie between these guys. You know, Manny and Billy, such great friends and mates. Off the course, when the helmet goes on, you know, they're banging bars and racing hard against each other. But, you know, most of these guys are really good friends. They do a lot of training together, help each other with different setup and tips, and it's just what the sport is all about. So we can see Graham Jarvis here. He's going down now to the checkpoints, to the finish, before he heads out on his second lap. Mario just pushing his bike here, trying to find the edge grip, the little ledges where his back tire is not going to slide down. Just trying to see who that is coming in behind him.
I'm back, guys. I can confirm Manny's sweating. It's not an easy section. I think you can see he's definitely pulled a little bit of an advantage over Manny out in front, looking strong.
And he seemed pretty happy to have a good session, a good warm-up right in the beginning of the day, just to get those muscles loosened up again, because, you know, when you've had such a hard day out in the mountains, when you wake up the next morning, you feel like you've been run over by a train. But once you get into it and your heart rate's rising and the muscles get warmed up, definitely helps you out a little bit.
Speaking of getting run over by a train, I actually had breakfast with Johnny this morning, and he is definitely feeling this from that. But you can find it, you know, he's going to dig deep. I think, like you said, it's pretty amazing how bad you can feel, and then just 5 minutes of riding, and how the energy levels can pick up. But just getting his leg caught on the back mudguard, that's one of the worst feelings you could possibly have. He actually said it's been away that long, and it's this kind of terrain and this style of riding is so different to anything else that he struggled a lot with the bike setup and just not knowing exactly how it needs to be, which kind of just shows that there really is nowhere else to ride like this.
As Johnny is our two-time champion here. He won in 2015 and 2016. So it has been a while since he's been here, and the technology of the bikes and the equipment has changed so much since then. So, you know, that's why he needs to just take some time to get dialed in.
And actually, as we said, Johnny has set the fastest checkpoint time for the first checkpoint. I know it's only fast riding to arrive to here, but you know, he's just shown that once the flag drops and you get a few corners in, that you can really loosen up and find some energy somewhere. So yeah, after seeing, you know, the difficulty Johnny had, and I think he even had a little quick to the doctors just to check on that he was, to the medics to check he was all right after yesterday. That's how depleted he was. So to come out on day 2 and set the fastest checkpoint time to start off with just shows that they're not normal, these hard enduro riders.
Not at all. Not at all. And Johnny probably knows, and the word out is that today is going to be a slightly easier day. So I guess he's going to take the opportunity to really put the hammer down and try and gain back as much time as he can.
I think not many people really believe anything that the organisers are saying about easy these days, to be honest. So I think it's more of a yeah, we'll see kind of attitude. Well, at least it is when I'm out there anyway. I'm also happy to tell them all today is going to be easier, not having a clue if it actually is or not, just to pick some spirits up.
I mean, it is the gold class after all, so they're not going to have an easy ride, but I think in terms of gold riding standards, it might be slightly easier, but certainly still going to be a real workout for these guys.
Wade and Theo now heading into their last lap. Theo has actually set the 2 second best checkpoint times, only 10 seconds and then 40 seconds behind Manny. So actually a really strong showing from Theo in this cliffhanger section today. As we have Matt Green entering the picture for his first lap. And it's just to show what carnage that this LIVemaniacs section creates. And I'm going to say it as from a rider's perspective here. It might be great to watch, but these guys, knowing they've got a 5-6 hour day ahead to be now dealing with riders on different laps and such a spike of the heart rate, it's really not a kind thing from a rider's perspective, this.
So,
because like you see here, so Theo at the background of your picture there is on lap 3, Graham and Sonny on lap 1, all, you know, technically at different stages of the race, but they're all still in a race themselves.
I got Mario Roman here. How is the energy level, Mario?
Yeah, it's very good for sure. I feel the muscle after yesterday, but yeah, super happy to arrive in the LIVemaniacs early on, so you can spend all the energy right as fast as possible, and then the rest of the day will be more flowy. So yeah, it was good. I just find traffic in the last lap, and I think I lose like 2 minutes or something. But yeah, overall was good lines, and happy.
Did you miss the cliffhanger section?
Which one?
This cliffhanger. It's called cliffhanger.
It's really nice. I enjoy a lot.
And how is it to do 3 laps?
It's very tough. Early on in the morning for breakfast is really, really challenging.
I see you did not sweat at all.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
So Diana just wanted to see if she can ask Mario if yesterday was tough enough for him, because for Mario, his attitude, that the tougher it is, the better it is for him, and he had a great ride yesterday, finishing in 2nd place. So Wade is on his 3rd lap, and he's into a bit of traffic now, so that's not going to suit him, because he's doesn't want to get out of touch and out of sight from Mario and Manny ahead of him.
Yeah, I think it really is showing that it's quite a big advantage to arrive to this section first. But then again, everyone had the same opportunity yet to win yesterday's stage and set off first from today. So, but no, I'm still going from a rider's perspective. This isn't a pleasant experience. For Manny, it was. I'd guess even for Mario, like you said, he did cut some traffic on the last lap. But it's only going to get worse for the guys from here.
Yeah. And Manny actually was 1 minute and 10 seconds faster on his last lap. So it just goes to show how hard he's pushing to extend that lead. And already after yesterday, he had a lead of over or close to half an hour. It was like 29 minutes on the overall ahead of Mario. So putting in a real dominant display. We can see that rut now really starting to form and dig in. So that's going to help them a lot that the back wheel doesn't slide out and down. Oh, as you see, Sonny just going down there.
Yeah, that's Sonny's. Maybe he's feeling the effects of yesterday a little bit. I think that's the second or third time he's had a little tip over here on his first lap. And Mario, in fact, did lose quite a bit of time at 2 minutes 24 second checkpoint time slower on his last lap. So just showing that this there's a lot of traffic out there in Cliffhanger right now.
We haven't seen Alfredo Gomez yet in this section.
You can actually just see him behind Johnny there. It's you've got to squint though.
Yes, Graham just making his way up now. So Graham almost clearing his second lap. But as you can look at that, there's a lot of riders in this section here now.
Mitch Brightmore, I think, also on a second lap. Currently leading the Junior World Championship standings, so on a pretty dominant display in that this year. I think he'll be pretty keen to try and get that championship ticked off, although he did win last year, but to go back to back, and I do believe it's his last year in the class, so it's he'll want to put on a good display in his last year in juniors. And
so here on the screen we can see the intermediate results from the Live Maniacs for today, and Manny clearing these three laps in 9 minutes, just going to show how far fast he was there. Wade slipping down the order a little bit in this section, down to 4th place. Teo having a good run so far this morning, moving up into 3rd. Looks like Mitch is just trying to adjust his kit a little bit there. I wonder if he's got some roosts. Somebody's roosted him from the top there, and the sand has just fallen down the back of your shirt, which can be really frustrating when the sand gets caught between your hydration pack. So let's go down to Diana in the 5-minute stop box and see who she's got there with her.
Yeah, I'm with Theo here. He just ate something. What did you eat?
It's a rocket fuel.
Enough calories?
Yeah, rocket fuel. It's like the most powerful thing in the world.
You're gonna be Superman probably, or Super Rider. Yeah, how was the track?
Super Rider is enough for me.
How was the race course?
Good, I made some passes. So yeah, I progressed, and I'm gonna try to keep it going this way.
You're not really into talking this morning.
I mean, I'm talking, but I have a full race ahead. So
okay.
I prefer to save my energy. Thank you.
I'll let you focus. Take care.
Well, now we know what we're looking for in the next checkpoint time, just to see how much that rocket fuel is going to give Theo.
Yeah.
But wonderful insight there from the guys down in the 5 minutes. As Graham and Johnny just heading down there, I believe going to start their last lap. So
I think Johnny is on his last lap. I think Graham will be going out for his last lap, but Johnny should be coming in to finish this section now. And Billy, you do a bit of riding in South Africa when you go there. Do you do some similar training over there in South Africa?
Yeah, I do a little bit from time to time. It's there's a few boys down there that kind of look after us and show us the way to go.
And so Chris Dedoulis and Kelly Wright.
They won the show down there. They won the show.
Boys,
there's nothing happening down there without it getting past them first.
Mickey Morris and Gordy Johnson, all the boys there. Bossy showing you the way around there in South Africa when they can.
Exactly. It's not quite going to be that useful for these conditions with how slippy it is out there today, though. The rocks maybe, but the damp tree roots is definitely not that favourable in South Africa. I think we've got Sufsella in there now, who's currently in second in the junior rankings. Closely followed by Ashton Brightmore in third in the junior rankings. So we've got a little battle of the juniors going on here on the Cliffhanger.
And Ashton's got a bit of time to make up, because yesterday, unfortunately for him, he made a little bit of an error going on the silver track just shortly after the start of the gold and lost around 20 minutes. So he's going to be charging today to try and make that time back up and climb up the rankings a little bit.
Yeah, you know, for the young guys, especially Aston, I believe it's his first time here. I can't tell you how much of an eye-opener yesterday will have been. You know,
Yeah.
I know for my first year, there is nothing anyone could have said that would have prepared us for these mountains and these hills. You know, you will have never seen anything like it, because there is nothing like it. You know, I remember arriving to the service point on my first day, and it was relatively early in the day to arrive to the service point, just thinking, this surely isn't halfway through. And they're like, this surely is near the end. No, we're not even halfway through. And I'm just like, what on earth? You cannot ride a motorbike for this long. So it'll come. You know, I'm sure he'll be here for many years to come, and this experience he's having is only going to help him in future years.
Yeah, and yesterday for the service point, you sort of came over the mountains and you could see the service point in Gina, where the village was. And for a lot of them, they sort of thought, oh, yes, we're here at the service point, only to be told that they have another loop to go before they get into service point.
That's
which
cruel.
Can be a bit demoralizing.
That is cruel when that happens.
So Graham Jarvis out on his last lap now. Got a little bit of a clear run here, so he's going to be pretty happy about that. And that's Matty Green coming into picture.
I think Matt's actually managed to cling onto the back of Graham for 2 laps now. So, this is definitely his second. Got a little bit of a bottleneck of traffic, but I think a lot of the guys will be happy for a breather also. You know, there's some tired bodies out there after yesterday.
And they're not going to be too worried, because, you know, once they're through this section, the track's going to open up, and there'll be plenty of overtaking opportunities. But in shot there, we got Johnny Walker. This is James Moore, the prodigy out of South Africa, youngster coming up through the ranks. Behind him, Graham Jarvis and Matty Green. So what a great shot there with the young generation and the old guard.
We have quite the contrast in ages.
I don't know if James Moore was born even well before when Graham took his first win here.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. So Graham, doing it for the pensioners. No, it's good to see. It's good to see how much he's enjoying it still too. Obviously, kind of running his own program these days, I'm sure it comes with a lot of headache and a lot of logistics. And just after spending quite a few years with Graham and traveling around the world with him and knowing how he operates, I'm sure there's some stories came from these last few years of him kind of running the show and just the adventures he's been up to. And if you see he's here, there, and everywhere, and there's kind of not a day goes by where he's not in a different country doing a tour.
No, absolutely. And the thing is that they just love racing and they love competing. You know, like you look at the other greats of the sport, like Greg Minnaar, who dominated the downhill World Cup racing, Nino Schurter dominating the cross country. And Nino's 38 years old, Greg Minnaar 42, Graham, I think he's 49 this year. These guys just live for their sport. They just live for the racing. They absolutely love it.
I think Diana has Michael Walker ready to go, so let's see how he's feeling.
Michael is feeling good. He just cleaned his goggles, used my t-shirt. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
And now I'm feeling better. In the LEATT section was quite hard, so it was just after the start and was quite intense. So, but now I recovered a little bit and ready to continue the race.
What do you expect for the race, for the rest of the day?
I expect a very long day. They said 180 k's, so it's 40 k's more than yesterday, and also yesterday felt quite long. So yeah, I'm expecting a long and hot day again.
So you don't need any rain?
For me, it's good if it's raining, but for now I don't need.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
So great to see that Michael Walkner is in high spirits there, joking and laughing, which is great to see because, you know, you just got to get those positive vibes and positive energies going because it's the small head, the voice in your head that can sometimes be your biggest enemy.
You've got to look for the small wins on days like this. And,
Absolutely.
It might. I've had it myself. There might be a 5-meter section of hill, but if you can give your feet up and you make yourself feel like a hero, the difference it makes to your mood can have a pretty profound effect.
Yeah, it's the small voices that can make it major sometimes.
That can also work the other direction too. I fell off going across the grass field. I've actually been overtook by bronze riders going up a gentle, wet, grassy incline, just thinking, what am I doing with my life? Like, burn my bike. Just I do not deserve to have this bike here. So yeah, they're long days. There's some dark thoughts creep in, and there's a whirlwind of emotions, but it is unlike nothing else. So I think I'm going to head back down to the 5 minutes area and just catch up with some of the boys down there.
So as Billy heads across there to the interview area, we're going to have Johnny and Graham and Mitch Brightmore hopefully in together in the box there. We're going to get some thoughts from them with Billy about how their sections are as we watch the rest of the riders coming in. Looks like Rico here coming into the section, the Brazilian. Awesome helmet that he's got there and pants to show his nation. Lots of supporters out of Brazil. Guys, just being patient here, taking their time to make sure that they can clear the section in one go. You don't want to rush it and have the bike slip down and waste too much energy trying to get back up. And Johnny has also cleared the section. We saw him coming down, following behind Graham. I think it was a little bit earlier. So Johnny is in the box. We should be, in a few minutes, we'll go across to Billy with Johnny. Let's go across and see Billy with Johnny.
Well, you look a bit better than you did when I saw you 2 hours ago.
I've woke up a little bit now since I got into there. It's quite good that, apart from it was just one line kind of thing. But
Yeah, I've seen there's a lot of traffic coming the last few laps, but like I say, you seem to have a solid run through. Just another 170 kilometers to go. How's the body feeling?
it's pretty rough. My hands are the worst, if anything. Like, my body's not too bad, apart from I was cramping a lot yesterday. It's not too bad, but my hands are really sore. Like, on that first bit this morning, it was fast, but I could feel it in my hands because I was pushing. But I just wanted to try and catch the boys in front, which I did a little bit, so that's good.
You actually had the fastest time on that first bit this morning, so there's life in the old dog yet. You get yourself ready to go and enjoy the rest of your day.
See everyone at the service point. Everything's good this time today.
Back to you, Craig.
So that's what we were talking about earlier with the hands, and especially after the liaison section that they're going to have. Your body tends to relax a little bit and that tension goes out, and then when you get into these hard sections again, the hands really suffer because you need to cling on to that handlebar again and to get the tension back again. But Johnny looking in really good spirits, and it's going to be good to see him to try and climb back up again. He was one of the few riders that made it through the entire course yesterday. Just going to show his experience and the determination out of him. So David Cyprian from the Czech Republic in this section now. He's trying to stop that back wheel from sliding down into that rut there, while the others just take a breather behind him so that they can try and clear the section. So while these guys are battling through the LEATT LIVemaniacs of the Cliffhanger, we can just give you an idea of how the others are going out on course. Manny is still our fastest rider for the day so far, but he has got Teo Kabachkov hot on his heels. Teo putting on a charge here. We've seen this so often from Teo in the past, where if he has a little bit of a bad day and falls behind a bit on time, he charges so hard to close that gap up again. But let's go across to Billy. He's with the legend, the GOAT, Graham Jarvis.
We'll go. Graham, how are you feeling?
Oh, pretty tired. I seem to be sweating more than everybody else. I don't know.
Manny was here looking pretty dripping in sweat, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So yeah, not too bad a day yesterday. Bad starting position, but you pulled through pretty well. There's obviously life in the old dog yet.
Yeah, I was just happy to get to the finish. It was just weighing it up. Should I just go home or keep going?
No, keep going. Keep going, you're doing well. Back to you, Craig.
So you can see Graham also in high spirits. So nice to see that the boys are keeping positive energy, positive thoughts. And we see Graham just being smart there, filling up his hydration pack because the sun is really starting to come out. He knows it's a long day. And just filling that hydration pack, which is made and brought to him by the guys in South Africa and Lizard. Bringing some really cool gear for Graham out of South Africa. So is this Ashton? Yeah, Ashton clearing the section really nicely. Ashton is the younger brother of Mitch Brightmore, but just showing his skills that these two riders have. And Rico doing his pivot turn there. So we saw him riding so nicely up that rock section. Now he's going to get into that rut. He's quite close to the top here, but you see that deep exhale that he took there, like, sure. This is pretty tough, and it is a bit of a workout for these boys early in the morning. But from here, they're going to have a long liaison to catch their breath again before they're going to get into the next hard sections of the day. Sufsela also from the Alfredo Gomez racing team. So let's go for a commercial break while we get through some of these riders, give them time to get into the finish line. So we got some great which you can head across to the website redbullromaniacs.com. All of that gear is made by our sponsor LEATT, really high quality stuff. So if you want to get your hands on some of that merchandise, head across to the website where you can check it all out. So Matty Green just making his way across the top of the spine here. He's almost in for his last lap. But let's go back down to Billy, who's with Mitch Brightmore.
So Craig, you were wondering if there was a clothing adjustment going on for Mitch on the first lap there, and I've actually just caught at the corner of my eye there's a stash of biscuits in his left pocket. Mitch, what's the biscuit of choice for this morning?
Don't know, some Italian biscuit, just the team have.
It seems to be working though, leading the junior class. Are you happy with yesterday's performance?
Yeah, to be honest, it was probably the longest day I've had on a bike. Feeling pretty tired this morning, but yeah, happy with the result yesterday. Managed to get to the finish, so yeah, decent.
And obviously you didn't make it to the off-road days last year. How much of an eye-opener is these mountains, and how unlike anything else were they for your first experience yesterday?
To be honest, like, there's nothing really like this in the UK. It's pretty hard to practice for it, so yeah, I've never really seen downhills or uphills like it, so it's all an eye-opener for me, just enjoying the ride.
Good stuff. Keep learning, keep doing your best you can, and hopefully we'll see you in the finish later today.
Thank you.
Good job.
So Mitch just saying there's just no place like it on earth here in Romania. You know, the hills are so steep, up and down, nothing else like it on earth, but you can always experience it. We have some training days here with the X-Venture team where you can come and test yourself against some of these hills. There was quite a bit of traffic that we saw earlier in Matty Green. He's going to be trying to make a charge to make up for that lost time with his clutch yesterday. And just the sportsmanship from the other guys, knowing that Matty was ahead of them, giving him a little bit of space to get through there and get past so he can clear the section and put the hammer down and chase the guys down. Really on a knife edge there as he around that corner. Got to be so careful to make sure, watch where your wheels are. You don't want to be falling down and spending all your energy to get back up again. So out on course, I'll just give you a rundown again of what's happening past this section. Manny still on a charge out front. Teo Kovachev in second. Mario in third. Johnny Walker is now our fourth fastest rider on track. And in fifth is Wade Young. So Johnny definitely on a charge here. He had the fastest time through checkpoint 2. Wade still leading the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship, you know, and that's going to be in the back of his mind that he needs to score as many points as possible and just keep that gap away from Manny, because Manny's definitely riding like something we've never seen before. He's absolutely dominating. Robert Crayston there just trying to get some grip and traction to get around that tree. As we see Mark Lazaro coming into picture. So Mark was here last year as well. He knows what to expect. Hasn't been on this section before, but he's going to use his experience once he gets out of here. And Vargas also, the Romanian as well. And here we have Alfredo as well. So we haven't seen too much of Alfredo today. Alfredo has been on the podium here a few times. You can just see him weaving his way through this downhill. Not too tricky, so it gives him a chance just to lower the heart rate and bring it down. Just to allow that lactic acid in your muscles to flush out before they hit it again. Robert Crayston still struggling with this section here. Looking for lines. And as you see, they're one of our sponsors, 100%. So 100% have partnered with us and give us such a great service for the riders. They can get a fresh pair of goggles at each of the tank points where they refuel their bikes. They get a brand new pair of 100% goggles for some clear vision to make sure they can see where they're going. You got to be so careful where you put your, as Johnny was saying earlier, where you got your foot placements, because you want to be focused all the time. You don't want to slip back down the mountain and have to climb back up. And we saw Martin down there, so that was Martin just giving the guys a bit of advice on what to do. Dieter Rudolph, really experienced rider. And Johnny saying earlier, it is a bit one-lined here, but I'm sure a lot of the riders won't mind that too much, because, you know, this first section up here where you have to go up these steep rocks, they're going to push your heart rate really high, and it's just going to give them an opportunity to rest and recover a little bit. Let's go down to Matty Green, who's in on the finish through his laps.
Matthew, I wanted to grab an interview with you because I think we just need to have a quick rundown of your day yesterday and the run and repairs that went on out there.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yesterday I unfortunately lost fluid in my clutch, which was inside on one of the seals, which apparently happens. So I tried to figure out what went wrong quickly. Ended up putting my juice in the clutch reservoir, and it worked like a charm. I was on it, so honest, couldn't feel the difference.
So today we got oil, or we still got juice in it?
No, we're using the same one as yesterday because the juice, I don't know, it felt more alive, a bit more aggressive, I think. So yeah, we've gone for juice for the rest of the week. Just can't get the clutch too hot.
Okay, so juice in the clutch, oil in the camelback. How did this morning go for you?
Yeah, we've been riding for about 15 minutes and then we've come into here. It was nice to catch up with my mates because there was lots of traffic on the track, so we could chat and see how everyone's feeling. I heard Johnny said he's put water in his camel pack, so he's not going to be sick today. And Alfredo said there's another line we can go around, but none of us ended up taking it.
Okay, there's quite the conversation gone on amongst these lots, so they've obviously enjoyed themselves here in Cliffhanger. But spirits are high down here. Matt's still happy and living life. Back to you, Craig.
Oh, you gotta love it with these guys, and just the good attitudes that they have, laughing away and just having some good jokes. I actually thought that Manny might have put a hole in his crankcase yesterday and lost the gearbox oil, but it's really good thinking of him to put the camelback juice inside the hydraulic system of his clutch. But yeah, that's a first. I've never heard of somebody doing that before, so really innovative. And I wonder what the boiling point was of that juice in his clutch, but good thinking there by Maddie. But that's all we have for you guys for today. Unfortunately, Billy won't be with us tomorrow. He's has to fly back home, but it's been great to have him next to me, have all of his experience. And please join us tomorrow, because tomorrow is a really, really difficult section for the LEATT LIVemaniacs for the gold class. It's super extreme, and you're definitely going to want to tune in to check it out. So see you tomorrow. Visit our website, follow the live feeds. Thank you for joining us, and we see you later.